Joining me now is Forbes senior contributor Adam Minsky. Adam, thanks so much for joining me again.
Thanks for having me, Brittany.
Adam, once again, student loans have made the news. This week, President Biden unveiled a student loan relief plan that would impact more than 30 million Americans by either lowering or completely eradicating their student loan debt. And this comes after the Biden administration's largest student loan forgiveness plan was struck down last summer. So what do we need to know about this new proposal?
So the new plan is significantly different from Biden's first debt relief plan that was struck down by the Supreme Court over the summer. That plan would have provided widespread relief capped at $10,000 or $20,000 to borrowers who earned income below certain thresholds. The new plan is going to be a little bit more focused and targeted. There are 5 categories of borrowers who could qualify for student loan forgiveness under the new plan. But for the most part, there's not necessarily a cap or a limit, and so some borrowers could see their full balances discharged under this new plan.
And who exactly are those borrowers? Can you dive into tell us about who qualifies?
Yeah, so there's 5 general groups or categories of borrowers who could qualify for relief under the plan. So first of all, borrowers who qualify for existing student loan forgiveness programs, such as income-driven repayment, public service loan forgiveness, disability discharges, but they haven't applied or enrolled, they'll be able to get their loans forgiven automatically, says the Biden administration. Category 2 are folks who have been in repayment for a long time. So this includes undergraduate borrowers who have been in repayment for 20 years or more, or folks with graduate school debt who first entered repayment at least 25 years ago. Borrowers who have experienced runaway interest in the form of interest accrual and capitalization could get $20,000 or more in accrued interest waived, as well as capitalized interest, which is interest that's been added back onto the loan balance. A 4th category are those who attended what the Department of Education deems low value institutions. So these could be schools that either closed or lost their eligibility for access to federal student aid programs. And finally, there's a broad 5th category of borrowers who could qualify based on financial hardships. And there could be a whole bunch of indicators that could suggest that a borrower is experiencing hardship that the Department of Ed could consider.
So there's a lot of different ways that you can find out if you qualify, but how do you know if you qualify? Is there any way to apply? What does that look like?
So right now the program isn't available yet. It has to go through a couple more steps in the regulatory process before it launches and kind of goes live. What we do know is that the Education Department should be able to provide relief automatically to at least some of those categories of borrowers who may qualify. So for instance, the department already has data on when borrowers first entered repayment. They have data on the school that the borrower attended. They should have information on interest accrual and capitalization. So for many borrowers, you might not need to do anything. There might not be an application required. The relief could be implemented automatically. But for other borrowers, such as those who want to argue that they have a hardship that prevents them from repaying their student loans, that almost certainly will require some sort of application process, which has not been released yet, but hopefully we'll know more on that within a few months.
As we said earlier in this conversation, the Supreme Court did shoot down President Biden's sweeping student loan plan back in June. Is there any indication this is going to either suffer the same fate or face any legal hurdles?
The plan is almost certainly going to be challenged in court, much like his first plan was. That being said, this new plan is enacted under an entirely different legal authority, under an entirely different statute, which expressly allows the Department of Education to cancel student debt in certain instances, unlike the statute that underlied the first program. And officials hope that that might ground the program on firmer legal footing. The department also went through a formal regulatory process, which is typically required for programs under the Higher Education Act, which it didn't do for the first plan. And again, I think officials are hoping that that helps insulate the plan from legal challenges. But that being said, there almost certainly are going to be legal challenges. It's a major program. Student loan forgiveness is controversial in our highly polarized times. And so we'll have to see what happens in terms of when it likely goes before a court.